Come, come, come out tonight. Come, come, come out to play. Come, come, come out tonight. Alice, come out and play.
After hearing the disheartening news of what had happened to the last Mad Hatter bar and restaurant unicorn, Alice looked up at the whacked-out clock above the bar to check the time. The hands had now moved back in time to 7:55 p.m, and outside it was daylight. Needing a tick or two after that news to readjust herself to the fact that it wasn't the morning sun rising, it was instead the sun that had unset, and then accepted yet another fact, that there were no longer unicorns, and there would probably never be any unicorns ever again. "You know what I'm thinking now?" she asked Just Jeff behind the bar. "I'm thinking, maybe, I really don't need a unicorn. Anyways, I do have my electric scooter, and that gets me around and between towns exceedingly well." 'Twas then a third fact came to mind. Where was her Segway? Alice had no recollection of having ridden from her home in Brooklyn to where she worked here in Hobohemia, much less than leaving it in the back of the MHR&B to recharge, in the place where she would always keep it plugged in. This was a most worrisome fact, but searching her memory for its whereabouts only encouraged the headache to return, and upon return it felt far worse than before. About to ask Just Jeff for the aspirin they stored behind the bar, and hoping the lion had not eaten those too, a distraction occurred. A knight, attired in a full suit of armour, had entered, stood behind the first customer standing at the bar he encountered, and gave the man a swift kick in the derriere, nearly knocking the poor fellow across and over the top of the bar. The knight then moved to kick the next man, then the next, and then the next. When he was finally behind Giuseppe, who was known as a bit of a tough guy in and around the neighbourhood, and who was there drinking with a few friends, the armoured foot of the knight introduced itself to his vulnerable backside. When Giuseppe fell forward, he not only knocked over his own drink, but some of his friends' drinks too. Reflexively, turning around to face the assaulter who had assaulted him and to assault his assaulter in retribution, the tough guy posed him a question. "Hey, why you a-going to kick me into my bum, brother?" The knight raised the visor of his helmet to reply, "Because I can." "Oh yeah? Yes. Turn around and I'll kick it again if you need a further demonstration." Now Giuseppe may have been a tough guy, but he was certainly not foolish enough to turn back around for yet another kick. Instead, he fisted a hand, pulled back his massive arm, and sent one of his infamous haymaker punches in the direction of the offender's face. But before his fist could land on it, the knight flipped down the helmet visor for protection, so Giuseppe's hand smashed into the metal armour protecting the butt kicker. Even from a few yards away, Alice heard some bones break in the tough guy's finger and hand. "Ah!" he screamed in pain, then cradled the mangled metacarpus with a still healthy hand. Giuseppe's friends had to help him out of the bar and get the grimacing guy to a hospital for care. It was then the knight turned to Alice's direction, gestured toward the helmet as he raised his visor once more and spoke. "A helmet is a very good way to protect your crown, Alice, but you can't always be sure it will save you, not even when one is crowned princess or queen." Returning the visor to its closed position, the knight retreated from the darkened hatter to the now radiantly early evening sun shining outdoors, and was gone as quick as he'd come. His parting comment made Alice think that she not only couldn't remember what she'd done with her ES2, she had nary a memory of where the protective headgear helmet was that she wore when riding her scooter. With an elbow on the bar, she now rested her head in her hand. The bump on her forehead was larger, tenderer, and she detected a somewhat sticky substance. Removing the hand from her head, in its palm there now appeared to be a tiny drop of something, red, like blood. "What Whatever do you believe he meant by that, Just Jeff? Probably just that innovations invented over the years, like helmets, come in rather handy when something is about to hurt your head. I mean the part about that it won't always save you. Maybe that even when you believe you're fully protected, like the way you put your helmet on at the end of a day's shift to ride your scooter home, perhaps you're really not, answered the bartender that once was a caterpillar and then a man, and who was now spinning and weaving a silk cocoon around himself. Just Jeff, Alice said with an ear-splitting note of alarm in her voice. Whatever are you doing now? The cocoon, already around his body, was now about to encase the face of Just Jeff's head, so he had to tell her sooner than later. I'm changing for the last time, and after that change, I'll eventually die. With a horrified gasp, the girl pleaded, But I don't want you to die. Just Jeff. Please don't go and die. His voice, barely audible beneath the silken cocoon, was now nearly muffled, so what words were spoken by the ever-changing bartender were the last words she or anyone else at the Hatter heard him say. Alice, we don't live forever, not you nor me. And what's more, we don't always get what we want, and sometimes not even what we need. I imagine someone would have told you this by now, so perhaps I should. Alice, when you last rode home you hit a pothole, and now you're... But before he could share the message in full, his head was entirely encased in the silk that cut off his final words. For an amount of time that went unmeasured, she stared through the blur of her tears at Just Jeff's silken coffin. At first she thought it was the distortion of those tears that created another optical illusion to trick her. A beautifully painted wing, and then another, burst out from inside the cocoon, and what next emerged was a lovely butterfly. Jeff, you're not dead yet. I'm so very happy. And as with Just Jeff, Alice was left with unfinished words on her tongue as the butterfly spread its beautiful wings to fly out the restaurant's door and up into the sky. Up, up, up and up towards the sun it flew, never looking back, because at that precise moment one of the seagulls living along the bank of the Hobohemian side of the Hudson River swooped from the sky, snapped up Just Jeff with its beak, and swallowed the caterpillar human butterfly, her new friend, in one bite. Thus the only words the woman had left to utter were, Bye-bye, slatki lecturer, bye-bye. So, if you spoke Croatian, or were not too lazy to translate it with an online Google translator, you'd know she was saying, Bye-bye, sweet butterfly, bye-bye. Perhaps not today, and it may not even be tomorrow, but perhaps sometime in the future, the yet-to-be-invented innovation will be invented that will completely protect caterpillars, humans, butterflies, and even Alice and all her friends. But I'm sorry to be the one to say, sadly, that day just wasn't today.
Come, come, come out tonight. Come, come, come out to play. Come, come, come out tonight. Alice, come out and play.